Hello, everyone. I hope you all are doing great. If you are catching this on the replay, I would love for you to drop in the comments replay. I'm going to get started in just about 1 minute or so. Say hello if you're hopping on live. I'm going to tell you that I am super nervous. Hi, Cindy. Thanks for saying hi. Nervous in a really good way, but nervous because I'm sharing something tonight that I have never fully shared. And my hopes are that it's going to offer you some hope and ways to fight for your advocacy. So say hello. Hi, Brandy. Say hello when you're hopping on, you guys. And if you feel that you know someone that is going through a storm, maybe they're in one, they're heading into one. Thank you, Cindy. Share this video with them. So, okay, it says that it's having trouble. So I'm going to make sure. Hi, Eva. Thank you. I'm going to make sure I'm still live, you guys. Let me know if you can still hear me, okay? Hi, Lindsay. Oh, it's so good to see you. It says they're having trouble with the video on my end, but I don't know if you are on your end. So you guys just let me know before I get started. It's great to see you on here, Lindsay. Hi, Jenny. Thank you. Thank you, Eva. I so appreciate the support. Let me know. Just drop in the comments, you guys, and say you can hear me and you can see me, okay? Because I can't, on my end, it says we're having trouble. So that's good. This is why it's meant to be, right? That we're having trouble with the video. So all good here. Okay. Thank you guys so much. Okay. So I'm just going to get kicked off and I will tell you that tonight I'm going to be sharing a story with you. It is a story of my brain tumor and the survival, but I'm going to be sharing what I walked through. And it's just one of the storms I've had in my life. I won't say it's actually the biggest one. I actually think I've had one last year that was probably a little bit bigger, but this is one of the storms. You've had several storms in your life. We all have them. And although you may not be able to relate to my brain tumor story, you're going to be able to relate to the battle of overcoming, the battle of hope, the battle of fighting for your life. Okay. And fighting for your life, whether it's mindset, whether it's anxiety, whether it's depression, whether it's weight, whatever it is, right? We're all fighting for something. And if you're not currently fighting for something, I promise you it's ahead of you. Okay, so tonight I want, by sharing my story, by coming on and really sharing this 5.5 years later, I hope that I can offer you to be your own advocate, to really fight and to not give up. I'm going to try to do it without being too emotional. Okay, get it together. Because every day I want you to walk away from this knowing that every day to live your life to the fullest. Okay, you don't know when it's going to be your last. You don't. All right. So that's what I want from you to get out with this story. Now, listen, it's going to help me get through this when you guys are here supporting me. Okay. So don't be shy. Drop in the comments. Show me some love to help me stay strong through sharing this. So you may say, like, why is it so hard to share? It's not that I'm ashamed of it. It's not that I have flashbacks to a horrible time. It's just the fact that it was hard. And being there, sharing it brings back a lot of emotions that I have personally not allowed myself to tap into. So that's why it's emotional for me. So here I go. Okay. Here I go. I'm hot. All right. So about 6.5 years ago, I began just having headaches. typical headaches, like what a lot of people probably have in their life, right? I was a distance runner, had an amazing group of friends that we ran all the time together, usually 3 or 4 days a week. I was not a person who complained, okay? But I guess I started complaining about headaches, and they finally were like, "You're complaining of headaches. Like, you need to get this checked out." And I was like, la, 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 whatever. I totally blew it off, okay? Some of you may be blowing something off in your life right now. Don't. I blew it off. Finally, about 4 months into it, I decided, okay, I'm going to go get this checked out. You know, they're on me. I'm going to go get it. Sure, it's nothing. Doctor number one just said, "Oh, you're stressed. You're stressed. You're having headaches. They're stress headaches." And I was like, "You are right, because I am stressed." I was in my third pharmaceutical drug launch, and I had a lot of stress in my life. I did. I felt like I was managing it. I didn't think that could cause me headaches. But he was a doctor, right? He told me I was stressed. That was in June of 2014. So I kept having them. It wasn't getting better. They gave me like some, medications, but nothing like too crazy. And I kept having them. So then I went to another doctor just to get a second opinion, right? I was like, I'm still having these, okay? So I went to another doctor, and that doctor told me I was depressed. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. I actually worked in depression, in pharmaceuticals, and anxiety. I was like, I don't really feel depressed, but I knew I was working a lot. And I just thought, well, I guess maybe I could be. I didn't feel typical depression, but I knew I had struggled. I had not struggled with depression before, but I had struggled with like anxiety. I'd had panic attacks before in my life. So I bought into it. I was like, yeah, you know what? I am. I probably am. Okay. So there I am. And that was August. So here is the thing about it, you guys, is that you have people tell you things, but sometimes you have that urge inside your soul that something necessarily isn't right. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, like, fight for that urge. All right. Part of my sharing my story is for you to be your own darn advocate through whatever you're going through. Okay, whatever your storm is in your life, be your own advocate, because there is nobody out there that's going to do it but you. And you have to be strong enough. You have to be strong enough to do it. So after that, I kept having headaches, and the headaches were a headache that I woke up with a headache. It was like a pounding drum all the time. Okay. They never went away. They just got worse or they got better. It was always there. Imagine, when your heart is beating really, really strong, like that's what it felt like. Always woke up with it, went to bed with it, all of these things. Okay. So I kept having them. September 11th of 2014, we had just moved into a new home, the home we live in now. And that day I was working about an hour away, and I started having blurry vision. My God, this is so weird. I have terrible vision, by the way. I am literally cannot see. Okay, like I would be able to see you all if I didn't have contacts. But I started having blurry vision. I was 1 hour away from home. I was scared. It took me a little while to get home because I kept having to pull over. And I got in bed and I was like, something's not right. Okay, I really, really, really started getting paranoid. All right. I really started, was like, I'm having a brain aneurysm. Something is going on. Now, I will tell you, I have a very high pain tolerance. So a lot of people will sometimes like maybe go to the hospital, but I had not been to the hospital at that point because I felt like I could control it. Okay. But my pain was so bad that day that I finally gave in. I was like, something is wrong with me. Something's wrong. We have to go to the emergency room. So my husband was there with me. He called my friend Michelle over and said to watch our kids so he could take me to the ER. She came over. I got up. I started walking to the door and I collapsed. From what they said, I don't really remember much of this, but from what I was told, my eyes were shut. I didn't open my eyes. He called 911 and I was taken out of my home on a stretcher. I knew what was going on, but I couldn't communicate. So we had lived in our house for, gosh, y'all, I don't know, maybe a week, 2 weeks, less than a month. So we get to the hospital. And we get there. They're like, The pain was, bad. I never opened my eyes through it. Mainly, I think I didn't open my eyes, not because I couldn't, but because the lights were so bright and my head was hurting so bad that I was too sensitive. They thought I was having a seizure. I was not. But we get there and they're like, they never gave me a brain scan. Okay. They basically told me that I was having a really severe migraine. They're going to make me an appointment with a neurosurgeon or give me a neurosurgeon to call or not a neurosurgeon, excuse me, a neurologist to call the next day. And they gave me a morphine shot directly into my IV. And I don't know if you've ever had one of those, but I will never, ever, ever forget like what that was like. I remember coming up and like not being able to breathe. Like if you guys ever had that, I was terrified of it. And this like post-traumatic stress from this morphine, like I never went back to the hospital because of it. It didn't matter what kind of pain I was in because it scared me so bad. I felt like I couldn't breathe. It was like you'd start to feel in your toes and it came up. So the very next day I went to a neurosurgeon. And I guess probably my first thing was like the fact that I could get into the neurosurgeon same day. Sorry, not a neurosurgeon, a neurologist. And was maybe the fact, maybe not have been the best fit for me. So I went there, and then she told me that she felt like I was having migraines, but that she was going to give me an MRI to make me feel better, to calm me down. And I was like, hell yes, you are. I don't care if I have to pay cash for it. You're going to give me an MRI. Something is not right with me. I know it. It's in my gut. So if you have that gut feeling, you have to be an advocate. I sat there in her office alone because my mom was in the waiting room. My husband was with our kids working or something. I don't even remember. But there is hope. There is hope for an answer. And I walked in that day going, there is hope. And hope was the only thing that was stronger than fear at that point in my life. Like I was afraid, but hope was stronger than that. So the next day I had the MRI. I went to the MRI and they basically told me like, everything is fine if you don't hear back from us. Okay. Everything is fine. And I didn't hear back from them. So I was like, yes, I guess I just have really bad migraines. I'm depressed and I'm stressed. We can handle this. Okay. I'm not having like all these things that I thought I was. 2 weeks went by and I finally got a call, and it was from the doctor. She left me a voice message, said, I need you to call me back. Okay. Now I'm like, my heart sinks. I'm like immediately emotional. I'm like, okay, it's weird. It's probably nothing. It's been 2 weeks. I haven't heard anything. So I get a phone call from the neurologist and she says, we found something. We believe it's a cyst sitting on your pineal gland. We need to monitor it every 3 months. But confident it was not causing my headaches. Okay, that made no sense to me. But she's a neurologist, right? So we went back to square one. And yes, hope is stronger than your fear. And that is truly what I was telling myself. Every doctor's appointment, every research I did. Now you have to know I'm from a medical world. Like I am in the medical space. So I am Googling, I am researching, I am reading clinical trials, and nothing made sense. So by now we're into the holidays. And at that point in time, I just needed help managing the pain. At this point in my daily life was being impacted about 1 to 2 days a week. I was in the bed, not showing up for my kids. My kids are afraid. What is wrong with mommy? Why is she so sick? Not being able to help my husband around the house, like nothing. Okay. So I went for a third opinion. And I went to a headache specialist here in Charlotte. Takes no insurance. It was cash. It was expensive. I didn't care. I wanted answers. So the next 5 months, I was on and off about 32 different medications. And you guys, like, this is what gives me, like, kind of makes me laugh a little bit to bring some humor into it. We used to I had a concoction. I woke up, I had a headache. I had to rate the headache. Was it 1 to 10? I took one medicine. That medicine didn't kick in 2 hours. I had a next medicine. If that medicine didn't help, I had a third medicine. And that medicine, I needed to be home, not alone, because I was getting ready to like not be able to do anything. So it was quite this like game that we had to play. And at this point, we're trying to figure out what's wrong. I have a cyst, I have depression, I have, stress, all of these things. Working through all of this, not working 5 days a week because I couldn't, but I was working. So that was interesting in itself. But one of the things that I have to say, like one of the quotes I kept telling myself, and I don't know if you're like a quote person, but I am a huge quote person. It always gives me hope and it gives me inspiration. And so I kept saying, like, I kept writing in my journal, then I kept writing, Thomas Edison said, one of our greatest, and I have it written down here, our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way to success is always just to try one more time. And I felt like I had tried so many times, but I still, in my gut, you guys, knew something wasn't right. So I took about 3 weeks off of work to really try and dive in and feel better, research, do better. Maybe I was stressed, so taking time off of work would help me. So I did that. And my mom, who is not on Facebook, and this is kind of cool. This just goes to show you the power of this platform. My mom said to me, Kelly, why don't you find a support group? Which is where I met some of you. I know some of my pineocytoma friends are on here watching. And that is where I met some people. I found a support group for this cyst I had. And I found this support group and I got in there and I realized it wasn't a lot of people. I think it was like, I don't really remember, but I think it was around 1,500 people in the support group from all over the world, but mainly the United States, realizing that there were people that were feeling the same way I did and they had been diagnosed. But I came to learn after researching more and more about this cyst that when it is, there are a lot of people that have a pineal cyst. In fact, I believe the statistics, at least then, it was about 10% of people. You would never know you have one unless you just had like a random scan. But the problem is when they cause symptoms, and that's where I was. So through this support group, I realized that this probably wasn't a cyst. It probably was a tumor. And I learned so much from these people. They loved on me. And so finding community on this platform, it really truly saved like my point. There were 3 surgeons, so much. So I started researching. There may be more now, but at this point, there were 3 surgeons that did the operation. It's very specialized. A pineocytoma was the brain tumor that I had. It sits in the middle of your brain next to your oh gosh, I hope my thing is okay. It sits in the middle of your brain. So it's a very, very difficult, very, very difficult, very difficult spot to get to. All right. So there were 3 surgeons, one in LA, one in Charleston, South Carolina, and one in Houston. I saw them all. I even saw a 4th doctor where I live who said, I would not touch you. I've never done that surgery. I wouldn't touch you. It's too risky. But he did help me pick out the best doctor he thought for me, which I was so appreciative. He is the best, what most people would consider the best neurosurgeon in the city I live in. And he was like, I am not operating on you. So there we go. We go and enter like hope again. We go and enter like, be your advocate, Kelly. Be your advocate. I'm going to say it over and over again. Be your advocate and know that there is hope and you have to fight. You have to fight whatever it is, your depression, your weight, your, whatever it is you're going through, you have to fight because there isn't anyone else that's going to fight for you like you do. And I kept thinking that. And so I decided to go with the surgeon who was the least experienced, y'all. And sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I was so brave to do that, but it felt right. He felt right. He was close to home. My doctor here in my hometown was going to be allowed to like sort of see after my aftercare. I trusted him. I really did. So leading up to the surgery date, here's the part that's hard. Preparing your home. preparing your children. My kids were 5 and 7, preparing them for what was happening without giving all the details. Having the conversation with your spouse, what if I die? That was hard. That was really hard. But you had to have it. What if I can't see? What if I lose my vision? What if I'm different when this is over? But I had hope. I held on to hope. I had an incredible, incredible support system. I will tell you, I always joke that if you're going to get really sick, I live in the best, best, best place to be sick in because they love on you. They spoiled my family with food, with just faith. I am so grateful that even though at that point in my life I was a baby in my walk with God, in my faith journey, yes, I was a Christian, but I did not have a living relationship with Him. I didn't. I prayed when I needed something. I prayed when things were hard, but I did not have a living relationship with God. So I'm not pushing my beliefs on you, but I'm going to challenge you. If you don't have that, it is incredible to have that. I had faith. The talks were hard, but we prepared. We prayed a lot. We prepared for surgery. I'll never, ever forget being out of town and going to dinner the night before with my parents. My brother flew in from Texas and my husband. And we did our best. We were like, we're not talking about it. We're not getting emotional. My family is pretty like, we're gonna laugh and we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna have a great meal and we're gonna laugh and be lighthearted. I know they were scared. They probably were more scared than me. I mean, imagine your daughter. Imagine your wife, the mother of your kids. Like you may be in that situation where you have someone you really love and care about going through this. Not this, but something. So the surgery was Wednesday morning, Wednesday a.m., early. It was several hours. Y'all, I was in the hospital for 2 days. I was in the hospital longer for my shoulder surgery than I was brain surgery. It is unbelievable what modern medicine is, but they don't want you in the hospital long because of infection, especially with your head and your neck and your like neck. So we drove home. It was about a 3 hour car ride. Drove home. It happened to have President Obama happened to be in town, in the city that my surgery was in Charleston, leaving. So the hospital was so great. They gave us like this little map of like the back roads and like you got to leave by this certain time. So there's all this like fun things that I very much remember in there. But the ride home was terrible. Um, it was a very long 3 hours. I was very, very sick. My mother was driving. My husband was in the back with me. It was horrible. It was probably some of the hardest hours of my life. But we got home, and oh, how did I feel after surgery, too? It was immediate. I will never forget being in the intensive care. My husband came back there, and immediately everything was gone. I mean, granted, I was on pain medicine, but everything was gone. And I just remember being so grateful that I had hope. And I remember being so grateful that I was my own advocate. When I got home, there was support, there were friends, there were family. I could not be alone um, at all. I don't even remember how long it was, but it was a long time. I know for the first 4 weeks, I had to have my eyes closed for 23 hours a day. So no TV, no Facebook, none of that. Here's what's funny. It was right when 50 Shades of Gray had just come out. So I downloaded it on Audible and played it. And I just remember people walking into my room, and if you know what 50 Shades of Grey is, and imagine if you have somebody reading it to you, like in a man's voice. Oh, that was funny. I'll just leave that right there. So we get there, And and during that month, this is what I want you to walk away from. If you're in a storm, I want you to walk away with whatever time you're in your life when you're in a storm. When I had that month, and yes, I had someone sitting there, but I slept. I had so many medications. I mean, I was in a recliner for weeks. It was horrible. It was, a miserable point in your life. And you're like, what is it going to be like? How am I going to feel? During this time, I vowed to myself that I was going to lead a different life. And you always hear that, you guys. Like, how many times do you hear people go through stuff and they're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to be different. I'm going to be different. But how many times are they not? Like, just take if you've had a weight loss, just take if you've gotten over somebody being rude to you, just take if you've dealt with your anxiety. Have you changed because of your experience? During that 4 weeks, I really vowed I was going to be different. I didn't want that same life. I loved my life, but it was when you're so close to having it taken from you, you don't want to live the same way. You want to freaking enjoy every day like it's the last day you have. And I love that y'all like the 50 Shades. It's funny. It was really funny. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know what. I didn't have a clue. But I knew I wanted more. I knew I wanted to be more. I knew I wanted to really dive into what I wanted out of life. I didn't know, but it is ultimately 5.5 years later what my life has become. And so I want to offer you hope. Whatever you're going through right now in your life, if it's the storm that this pandemic has caused you, if it is the way you feel about yourself, your talk, your negative self-talk, is it a disease that you have? Is it something with your kids? Is it something with your marriage? It doesn't matter. You have a storm. And I always prepared myself that you're in one, you're heading to one, or you're coming out of one. We all fit in one of those three categories. And to truly know who you are as a person and what you want out of life and really enjoying every day of your life. And yes, things are hard. And yes, you get defeated. And yes, it sucks sometimes. All this stuff with the politics, all this stuff with people being mean and rude to each other, it's so sad. Because it really shows how sad our world has become. And I don't want you as my friend to be that. I want you to have hope. I want you to fight for you and for your story and what you want and not give up on you. Not give up on you. Because here, I could have given up so many times. I don't really know why I didn't, honestly. I cannot analyze that for you in that moment. Now I know I will never give up. Will never. Ever, ever, ever. Will never give up on anything or people. I will set boundaries. I will set boundaries in my life, but I won't give up. And I don't want you to give up either. I want you to be and have and be the best that you can be. And that looks different for each one of you. It really, truly does. So how did this even come about, me sharing my story with you? I was chatting with several friends online about 2 weeks ago. And then I put some polls in my story about like different things that people wanted to hear. And I got so many requests for two things. And this was one, sharing this story. And it's not so much about a brain tumor. I will tell you, it's so funny. People think I'm very strange for saying this, and you may too, but I am so grateful that I had a brain tumor. I am so grateful. I am so thankful because if I didn't go through this storm and I didn't have come out with it, I would not have the positive mindset, be like so loving to serve other people in my life. I would not have shown up for who God meant me to be. I wouldn't have. I would just kept living everyday life, doing the normal things that I was taught to do as a child. And I wanted more. And I didn't even know it. I didn't even know it. So I want to offer you some hope. Thank y'all for listening tonight. You made me feel um, so much more comfortable. This was not easy for me to share. But it's taken me 5.5 years to be able to share it. I kept thinking it was the right time, but now it was. So go out and be an advocate for yourself and have hope. Give hope to others. Create your community, but don't waste your life. Don't waste your day. Don't waste anything. And you can't blame it on other people. You really, truly can't. You have to show up for you. It doesn't matter what's going on in your house, at your, with your family, with your coworkers, any of that. You can't use them as an excuse of why you can't be better, why you can't be your best, because you have total control of all of that. Thank you all so much. Thank you for the support. Thanks for being on with me. It really, really, really means a lot. Good night.